The Pixar universe, filled with joy, beauty, and innocent childhood memories that have shaped each and every one of us with their rich and deep storytelling in a land of colorful dreams. What about politics? Vroom vroom, bitch, it's Cars. It's a 3-movie franchise about the world as we know it, but instead with cars. That's it. A bunch of suits sat in the room and we're like, wait a minute, what do kids like? Cars? We gotta make some money on that, because that's the only thing we care about, kids and cars. Not you, get the fuck out of here. Anywho, yeah, they wanted to make money and they liked kids, not in a weird way, maybe in a weird way, I don't know, I'm not their mom. Either way, they were like, we can make money off of this shit. And they did. They made that much money out of it. That's a lot of money. Give me some. I want it. But anyway, what are the political themes and ideologies presented in this franchise? Let's start with Cars 1, neoliberalism. The story of this rich, famous, white-as-moon celebrity that after some horrible misfortune ends up in this unprivileged and dirty side of capitalism, and they are such savages that don't even give him special treatment because of his status? How dare they? What the fuck is this? Don't they know that the jail and the fines and stuff are just for the poor schmucks that can't afford a lawyer or a judge? That's in the Constitution, I bet. Fuck them, all American pieces of shit. Put them all in the camps, they don't deserve it. Maybe they can help me with. Maybe they can help him in this never-ending quest of money and fame. Great job, guys. Now you're worth the oil you run on. McQueen is much like how capitalism respects LGBTQIA and minorities because money, and ultimately genderfies them to only serve him. The entire town basically becomes his own to further push his influence, and in the process, some trinklet piece of small little revenue comes for them and they better treat him as a god. If that's not neoliberalism, utilizing marginalized communities and identities to further their own capital agenda and pockets, nothing is.
Neoliberalism is anything that I don't like. The more I don't like something, the more neoliberal it is.
Then we move on to Cars 2, which has our goofy characters go against the ever-expanding and evil oil oligarchs and companies that kill, steal, and plot to destroy everything just for the sake of profit, and further expanding their global empire, and how they use propaganda to frame any activism as terrorism. Yeah, I don't know. This isn't political, I think. Let's move on. Cars 3. This time, our main character, McQueen, is an old fart that is desperately trying to win one last game. Just one more, please. However, he ultimately realizes, although admittedly way too fucking late, that he has to pass the torch to this young qualified girl that can win it all. But wait a minute. An old, experienced, previously successful man wanting to win once again, even though it's fucking improbable as fuck, just so at the final second decide, yeah, this is dumb, and retire to give his assistant, which is a woman, the chance to do what he can't do. And the woman wins! Yeah, I guess this is more the political climate of America in 2024 and not 2025, which we already greatly miss. Damn it, Liz Cheney, you were supposed to make the progressive win! Can we get Bush next time? Inside Out, the movie franchise depicting and honestly helping teenagers understand their emotions in a beautiful and deep journey into the heart of depression and change by characterizing each feeling as its own interesting person, which ultimately humanized abstract ideas and allowed every kid to know that their feelings are accepted and appreciated. Fascism, baby! Woo! Yeah, so it's a very inherent hierarchical world that this motherfucker assumed power in because of superior ideas and marginalized everyone else just because of their being. Hello? She even put sadness in a small encampment to do work. Camp. Arbeit? But what is fascism? Fascism is characterized by a dictator leader, centralized autocracy, suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, strong regimentation of society, and militarism. Okay, to be fair, I don't know about the last part when it comes to Inside Out, but the rest work, right? Like, it matches the aesthetic that the whole movie is going for, so yeah. This right here is an authoritarian hellhole, but at least by the end of the first movie, we realize fascism is bad, guys. Then we got Inside Out 2, which is the same thing, but then it decides that fascism is good actually, because some motherfuckers need to be oppressed. Toy Story is about toys, and their stories. Yeah, we got Andy over here with a bunch of sentient toys, which we won't mention how cosmically horrifying that is, but these toys are having fun and stuff, with Woody being the main goon, until Buzz Lightyear comes. No, I ain't gonna explain Toy Story to you. You have to have seen this shit, right? Like, this is a video about the Pixar universe, and this is the Pixar. This is Mr. Pixar right here. Why did you click on this video? I think the entire movie's political ideology can be summed in the idea of progressives versus conservatives. We got the old ideas and norms being challenged by the new and foreign greater beyond ideas, with many townfolk accepting the new, and that makes the old very unhappy. But these domestic issues have to be put aside because of foreign threats. After all, outside of our internal differences, we should be united, just like America, and how they still come together to fend off a greater evil. Okay, maybe not super American. Now in the second movie, we got a bunch of new toys joining our gang from outside. One might say they're some foreigners. It's the same shit, it's progressives versus conservatives, but this time the topic is immigrants. Yeah. In the third movie, however, our toys are cast aside as Andy wants to go to university. Now, they are donated to a beautiful, magnificent, super bubbly place called Sunnyside Kindergarten, which is where dreams come true. Oh wait, no, that one's different. I think in Toy Story 3, the Sunnyside Kindergarten, the place that all the toys went to, is a representation of a Stalinist state, which is a subversion and wrong characterization of Leninist Marxist ideas by turning them from a worker class representation hierarchy and controlled means of production to a totalitarian police state with massive class conflict oriented around one dictator as a cult of personality. Funny enough, Stalin hated the name Stalinism because it really showed how he differed from the ideas of Marxism and Leninism, and he wanted everyone to think that no, Marxist-Leninism is what he thinks it is and what he's doing, right? He was a huge fan of Lenin and obviously by definition Karl Marx, and he didn't want anyone to say that what he was doing was somehow different. Even though Lenin really hated the idea of him ever being in charge, as stated by his last testament. Comrade Stalin, having become Secretary General, has unlimited authority concentrated in his hands, and I am not sure whether he will always be capable of using that authority with sufficient caution. Ouch. And I thought Kendrick was mean. We have a totalitarian police state ruled by violence, which also uses the people as informants via fear and mass surveillance, just like KGB. All oriented around one dictator in a cult of personality, Dodoi. Lotso, for the betterment of the upper part of the hierarchy, has decided to basically sacrifice the lower class, which if you know what Stalin did to Ukraine to fix the drought, yeah. However, by the end of the movie, after Lotso is tussled, Ben and Barbie are now the heads of the state, but from everything I can see, nothing's really changed in the societal structure. It's not like money or currency or capitalism is involved somehow. They are still hierarchical, but I assume that there is less class conflict as they're all working together fairly, which makes this more of a true Leninist representation. So in conclusion, Pixar with Toy Story 3, the third continuation in the franchise about a bunch of toys going on an adventure, is showing us that Stalinism is bad and Leninism is good. Based. Also, take a look at this scene.
That Barbie has some nice handwriting.
Buzz? Barbie didn't write this.
Gender! Toy Story 4, however, is an allegory about trans rights and acceptance because anything can be a toy. You don't have to identify with what the society forces you to identify as. Although you might be saying, Ash, why someone's personal life, identity, self-fulfillment, or self-acceptance is somehow considered a political ideology or a political theme? I ask that question from myself every single day. Lightyear. Does this count as a Toy Story movie? I think it counts as a Toy Story movie. This one is a solo movie of Buzz Lightyear, but not the toy, the character. The character that Andy saw on TV to one Buzz Lightyear the toy, which makes any merch of this movie very weird. Anywho, in this movie, Buzz goes way too beyond infinity and reaches another planet, which he settles in and basically has a commune. I guess pro-American frontierism and pro-colonialism. Next movie. Turning Red. Communism. Finding Nemo in the vast, vast ocean, which holds fascinating stories such as fish. It's fish, alright? They're all fish. That's fuck you want from me? There's no political ideology here. I don't know. Cratocracy, which is the ideology of the strong ruling and enslaving the weak. Enslaving, well, because look at that, I guess. But the ruling doesn't make any fucking sense, alright? They're just be eating each other. It's not like there's a social hierarchy for it to be, I don't know, social Darwinism. It's just straight up fucking Darwinism. It's anarchy out there, alright? They're just eating each other. They are being strong and stuff. They're animal. They're fish. It's the fucking sea. There's no political themes that... Wait a minute. What the fuck is this? So Marlin, a man, gets to name 599 eggs, and Coral, his wife, a woman, gets to only name one? Gender pay gap, baby, let's go! Also, Finding Dory is the same thing, but this time with Biden as the main character, so... Gender pay gap. Incredibles. Incredibles is about the alternate society which superheroes exist, however due to government mandate and civil suits they are outlawed. Not in any hunting them down and encampment sort of situation, much more liberal than that, they're just fined and heavily encouraged to not follow their superhero lives. Bob, the Mr. Incredible, hates that and wants the good old glory days. Both Incredibles 1 and Incredibles 2 basically follow this goal of his of once more bringing superheroes back into the spotlight. At first, one might think that the entire movie franchise is about marginalized group because make soups legal feels like a very pro-immigrant, pro-minority sort of slogan. But it isn't. What are the political themes presented? Pro-white nationalism and race realism. Yeah. The entire series keeps showing that them being oppressed is just them being normal. Normal people with normal rights within the same class hierarchy, and that's apparently unacceptable. This whole thing screams white nationalist messaging such as, the fight was for state rights, guys. Being white is power and good. White power, guys. White pride. Let's go. He literally says, think of the children. That is dog whistly as fuck. I've heard that slogan like 100 times at a Proud Boy march. What are you doing, Bob? Get out of there. For fuck's sake, the people who try helping them in the second movie are a bunch of tech tycoons. This guy's grandpa was very pro-superheroes, much like Elon Musk's father being pro-apartheid and Elon directly benefiting from it. You heard that, right? Elon Musk is on their side. Reminds you of anyone? They have insane amounts of fake victim mentality. They think they're oppressed by just being equal. Others being on the same rights and social status as them is the same as them being oppressed and a marginalized group. What the fuck? I mean, they think they're the ones oppressed while most are still incredibly privileged. They have a fucking guy in the government cleaning their mess up. If that's not allegory for fascism in this day and age, I don't know what is. They legit think they are the oppressed people while destroying everything without checks and balances, without any need for equality or say. They know what's right and wrong, and that's all the morality we need, goddammit. Even though they still have great ties to the government, they think government is against them. They are insane. It's a fascistic propaganda is what this is. He is the Ubermensch that was forced to tolerate the mediocrity of other humans and races, and he's chained by such stupid ideas of equality. He's in a fucking mansion! And the screensaver, the villain of the second movie, is the neo-Nazi version of Antifa. They are the ones wanting to fakely show the neo-Nazis or superior race as the true danger, just like how they were the ones on January 6th, I guess. And hey, the screensaver is the one who brought communist ideas like body cams for our brave cops. The villain is Antifa, and the superheroes are neo-Nazis, I guess. Oh, and the screensaver is a woman! A good comparison of this type of storytelling is the X-Men series, which is a more hardcore reality version of Incredibles. Most stories revolve around the racism and class differences of mutants and non-mutants and is a huge allegory of civil rights for underrepresented and feared, aka mutants. However, in X-Men, the mutants are actually underprivileged and haunted. There are many storylines that non-mutant humans try to wipe them all off or cure them, so the reality is much more dangerous than mob over here. And more importantly, unlike X-Men, which takes a more middle-of-a-road liberal take of, yeah, mutants being haunted and marginalized is bad, but also being fascistic and mutant superiority about it, like Magneto is also bad, we should get along, guys, because that's good, and we are good. Yay! However, the movie Incredibles makes the argument that no, the place of mutants should be above the rest. They are better at everything, and that's what Ubermensch is. Them not being able to go out there, fight like hell, and fuck shit up and feel like gods without any checks and balances is oppression. Apparently. Ratatouille. The story of a rat, Remy, ratting so hard that has him getting yeeted to Paris, and now he has to basically play Overcooked the game to climb the most brutal ladder in the jungle. Capitalism. Yeah, and then he goes and finds this twink guy Linguini and freakishly controls his body, not in a kink way, or maybe in a kink way, I don't really know, to make Gordon Pansy very happy. I don't know, cosmocracy. Because everyone gets a vote. Cosmocracy, as the next stage in the development of the mind. Okay, maybe not cosmocracy. I don't want to think about that. But for a more serious answer, I was very inspired by this great video by Sin Squad, which makes a comparison of social classes presented in the movie being humans, the rich, and rats, the poor. However, I think we can actually go much farther with this allegory if we make it more theory heavy. For example, saying that Remy, which is a rat, therefore from the poor class, is actually the highest level of the poor class. He's a proletariat. He's the one making the label, and Linguini, which is a human from the rich class, from the bourgeoisie, but actually the lowest level in the hierarchy. He's just a human by being born rich, but he doesn't have much talent, but he still has to use Remy as a method to make capital. Skinner embodies capitalism and stills Remy to exploit for labor in order to also alienate the rat from its means of production. However, something that's interesting in this movie is that even though the show wants the lower class to rise and win against the elite class, ultimately within the current system, it's not possible via the normal recommended way like merit or action. There always needs to be some level of dynastic capitalism involved. The only time in the movie that there is any level of hope is when Linguini finds out that after all he might not be the lowest class. He might be the owner. He's the higher class. He is at the top of the bourgeoisie pinnacle. Therefore he is saved. Not because all those stuff he was doing earlier. That's not nonsense. No one gives a shit. This letter is the only reason he can survive. Great labor, helping others, trying to better yourself, all of that, unions, none of it matters because the only way you can climb is if your bloodline had a lot of money and you found out about it. Truly, it's apparently easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism, even for Pixar. Even at the end of the movie, when Linguini loses everything because, you know, he brought a rat into a restaurant and he's once again at the lowest level of the rich or the bourgeoisie, aka humans, the only way he can survive is by the mercy and charity of the people above him, aka ego. Investors, baby. He just straight up Mr. Beast that shit. Because that's how the system works. So we just saw this man, Linguini, try his absolute hardest to form union with the proletariat class and the lower class with the actual labor, the creative mind behind all sorts of outcome and all sorts of capital, try his absolute damn hardest, but still realize that he will fail regardless because the entire thing is set against him. But oh, wait a minute. He can survive because he's actually fucking loaded rich. He is actually not the lowest class in the bourgeoisie. He's the highest class in the bourgeoisie. He can survive, guys. This is great. But he's going to be punished for it and thrown back at the bottom because how the fuck dare he even attempt to have some sort of collision and some sort of union with someone from a proletariat and the lower class? Peasants. No, not you. How dare you? Back at the bottom you go for daring to challenge the system. But don't worry, a rich old white man saw his twink ass and were like, wait a minute, I'm gonna help you build your own restaurant. The system works, guys. The system works, promise you. So even though the movie might seem like an allegory for class consciousness and a stand against the rigid capitalist class system, it ultimately argues for class mobility through capitalism rather than class embellishment, and how it's ultimately possible in this system. You just have to try hard, I guess, by not being a rat if you're one. Just try very hard. Damn it. WALL-E, my favorite Pixar movie and one of my favorite movies of all time, which is about us following this cute little robot, falling in love with an absolute diva, and traveling to stars for love. This movie is extremely anti-corporatocracy and anti-luxury automated space gay communism. If you want to know what pro-luxury automated space gay communism is, I have a video that I actually made a few months back explaining all extreme or goofy political ideologies. Go watch it, it's fun. Also, pro-environmentalism. Obviously. With the allegory of the space people being people who are just too lazy to give a fuck and they have to be woken up and fight the system. Yes, a literal system. Also, it's truly fucked up how pro-environmentalism and pro-not fucking destroying the planet is somehow a great political debate topic. Let's put it next to all other shit that are unfortunately political. We truly suck ass. Boo! I'm from the future, as you can see, and I was editing the video and I realized I completely forgot about Brave. To be fair, I didn't think it was from Pixar. I thought it was DreamWorks or something, but yeah, I forgot about it. Brave! The movie about a fake land of fantasy, Scotland. We got Merida, a young princess rebelling against her father and against misogynistic traditional values. Wait, that's kind of boring. Throwing a bear! Fuck yeah! Now you might think the political ideology of this movie is simply feminism. You're correct, it is feminism. But what kind of feminism is the question? The story of feminism is absolutely massive. There were many waves, interpretations, philosophies, and overall significant amount of movements. However, while the very core principle of feminism stays the same through different pragmatic implementations, the idea behind it differs. Feminism, in its core, is opposing the oppression of generally and historically regarded female sex throughout ages. Now, how this oppression manifests, how it should be subdued, and how patriarchy exists as it does are all questions that many feminist scholars try to dive into. Now, in my research and understanding and overall opinion, you know, a man's opinion, so it ought to be good, the main categories of feminism ideologies are as follows: liberal feminism, radical feminism, postmodern or queer feminism. Other feminist ideologies like cultural feminism, ecofeminism, or Marxist feminism are just subcategories of the main ones. Now, I would love to make a video deep diving into every single one of these ideologies and categories and the scholars and everything, but I won't, and you shouldn't ask me to. There are a lot of female creators that actually have a deep connection to these ideologies and experience it every day, so it's weird for me to try to step on their foot to do a YouTube video about it. Just go and learn. Or maybe you don't like YouTubers, you're all smelly weirdos. That's fine, you can read a book. We love the Beauvoir in this household. That's pretty nice. Or maybe that's too old. Bell Hooks, Judith Butler, there are a lot of scholars. It's an amazing time to be alive. Correction, there are some good books to read. Maybe. But anywho, in the movie Brave, I think we are dealing with liberal feminism. Now, liberal feminism's main ideology is trying to subdue misogynistic behavior within a system by the system. The whole point is trying to incrementally better the system by different methods such as voting, movements, social clubs, and Instagram posts. Basically destroying the patriarchy through legal and social reforms that the system agrees with. After all, women are roughly 50% of any society, so they do hold a significant amount of power. Liberal feminism inherently doesn't have an issue with the system as a whole, just thinks parts of it needs tweaking. It just aims to incrementally better the system from within while maintaining the core. However, other ideologies such as radical feminism, which YouTube in 2013 and 2014 basically portrayed as devil reincarnated, want to change the system as a whole. Radical feminism recognizes the baggage the history of power imbalances brings to the world now, and how just the Ooga Booga strength hierarchy of 5,000 years ago still presents itself in a rooted patriotic system. It advocates for completely uprooting the system as it is or massively changing it, making the argument that a society born out of misogyny will never be free of it. Now, this ideology can be materialized in many different ways. Some radical feminists are very politically driven, and some are very economically driven, like Marxist feminism. Some are very libertarian about it and care about each woman's personal actions and responsibility and solidifications of those actions based on an anti-systematic view like the 4B movement. Overall, radical feminism doesn't believe something like liberal feminism can lead to true equality. It can just make it tolerable. Very slowly. And queer feminism just says gender is cringe, y'all. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Postmodern or queer feminism actually tries to go with the root issue being gender as an ideology as a whole, saying the very label itself advocates for some sort of weird social standing, saying inequality and patriarchy and misogyny are bred from the very idea of their existence. Anyway, back to Brave. In Brave, even though our main character hates the patriarchal power imbalances that exist here, she inherently isn't against gender. She makes a lot of gender-oriented jokes, doesn't really advocate for the abolishment of the system they're in, and she loves the life of a royal family, I guess. She is a liberal feminist all the way. Hey, the movie even acknowledges this with, at the end, the firstborns being allowed to choose who they're going to marry. The system gave them the allowance. Oh, they should be so happy now. This is basically a direct policy decision that Merida advocated for. In our movie Brave, the world of which is in Scotland in an era of massive feudalism, clan-oriented governing politics, and monarchy, I think the best and most relevant political theme and ideology of this movie is liberal feminism. Back to the green screen. A Bug's life. We got Bugs doing work, this guy makes stuff, people don't like stuff he builds, very sad. Oh no, oppression? Yeah, that's basically it. The ant colony shown in this movie is a highly regimented aristocracy and feudalist, which suppresses the genius of our little ant here who is a great inventor. Damn it! Damn you, hierarchy! But wait, it gets worse. This society is also greatly colonized. However, the colonists in this movie justify the colonialism as a mutual beneficial colonialism, saying that if you feed us and help us, we're gonna defend you against other bugs or other animals who are gonna kill you. So technically, this is not really even oppression. We're in a partnership, if you really think about it. But don't think about it too hard, okay? That's too much. The movie, however, takes an interesting stance, showing that in order to fight colonialism, while the help of all people is needed, ultimately the greatness of a single individual to overthrow the oppressive forces is necessary. You know, the same individual who was crushed under the conformity of this rigid society. Damn you, monarchy! You're fighting our liberty! Our forefathers died for nothing! You and your unjust rules, forcing us to become the worst version of ourselves, forcing us to change our very being and suppress our callings. We the people need more, want more, deserve more, and we shall— Oh wait, you want me to rule? You want me to rule because I'm smart and stuff? And you wanna fuck me? Oh, okay, never mind. The system is great, guys. False alarm. What the fuck? The movie, instead of concluding with how harmful this rigid hierarchical society was and resulted in a lot of pain and oppression either directly or indirectly, just decides that no, the hierarchy was fine actually, the system was okay, it was just the individual that was the problem. So as long as the person at the top is better and has merit, it's all fine, baby. I mean, look at this. An inventor liar who makes tech and cars somehow fucks the leader and gets power. Huh. Yeah, this shit sucks. The movie mostly focuses on anti-colonialism messaging instead of addressing the main root issue and the setting that even enables such horrible outcome. Ultimately, I think the political ideology and theory that A Bug's Life the movie has is an Anne Frankian individualism, oligarch, technocrat autocracy, but based on a bullshit, dumbass, unquantifiable measure named merit. A meritocracy.
Monsters Incorporated.
It's a musical. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. So help me, so help me. And cut.
Hyper-libertarian capitalism. Profit overall. The movie is about the monster society working supposedly similar to our own, with the only difference being that they truly solved global warming with a very good green energy solution: torturing children. Yeah, we should try that one. Anywho, our main characters, Sally and Mike, are top dogs in their energy racket thingy, and they come across someone worse than a rapist.
A child. No.
So yeah, they get this child and then realize she can be exploited in other ways, like laughter, and that changes everything, including the world. Yeah, they change the world. All on their own. The entire movie is the illusion of fair competition while it's all owned by the same elites. The idea that the rich is only rich because of their work is very prevalent, and in reality, it's absolutely fucking nonsense. Most rich people are either just extremely lucky, born rich, or just straight up evil. But we can't admit that on a societal level. Now you see, that wouldn't make Nancy Pelosi very happy, unfortunately, so we came up with something that was slightly better on the ear. Meritocracy. In Monster University, the idea of merit is kinda questioned by the very notion of Mike, someone who no one believes in, proves that he in fact can overcome everyone's low expectations and succeed. Well, kinda. The whole movie is busting on the idea that true merit is developed and worked on, mostly on the individual basis. You know, you got this, man. You can show the system if you try hard enough, if you create that inner desire and fire your inner flames and cook the food of the gods, ergo your talent, you can defeat all the naysayers. You got it, because merit is developed from the within. Don't worry, Mike. You got this, man. You can be the best scarer of all time, and you can just go ahead and succeed if you try hard enough. This shit is the most libertarian-coded jibber-jabber bullshit I've ever heard in my fucking life. As if individualism will all play itself out and there is no need for any policy change, and what matters is personal attitude, because Sullivan, while having the blessings of his family's blood and legacy, is not full of merit because he's cocky and a jock and he's gonna fail. Even though he does in fact become the best scarer of all time, prompted by his family's legacy and race. And Mike, who might not be born with privileges, is super hardworking, and that's why he's going to win and be full of merit. That's what merit is about, baby. Even though he does become an assistant at the end. He will become the assistant of the cocky jock. Yeah, it's showing no matter how it's challenged or fought against, the ones with capital and arbitrary privileges like race do become the higher up in the social class. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, what the fuck is the point of this movie? So while the idea of meritocracy is weirdly challenged in this monster series, ultimately it's meaningless. And even though the movie at the end kind of claims that, never mind, meritocracy works, guys, let's have a leaderboard. That's what it's all about. These people are hardworking, even though this motherfucker just became a lackey after everything. The only time Sullivan was antagonized in the entire movie was when he was going against the very core fundamental beliefs of the machine. When he questioned the very thing that catapulted him to the stardom and the highest echelon of society. When he questions capital and merit. And you know what's the worst part? He stands against the status quo, and meritocracy was only deemed correct and good when the movie decided to make laughter more energy generating than scream. So the underlying structure is still celebrated in this movie, but don't worry, the bullshit, vague, stupid excuse of who is scarier is out. Now a better quantified, better measured, insanely amazing merit of who is funnier is here. That is so much better, right? This is still used for profit and capital, but it's ethical. Because the other one is spooky, but this one is funny, right? That's good. That's what ethical means. Even though you're still breaking and entering into the childhood's room of people, and in one way or another, whether you want to admit it, you're exploiting kids, and you're a grown-ass man. Why are you even talking to kids at night? In their bedroom pajamas? You libertarian fucks. This is exactly how Tesla is ethical, because it doesn't have a big carbon footprint. Such good guys, even though they go ahead and sell all their carbon tax allowance to other companies. So other companies can just use more carbon because Tesla didn't use their fair share. You know, it wasn't because they were helping the environment, they just sold that shit. So it made an overall net outcome of fuck all for environment. Thanks, Sullivan, you killed it. Laughter is the solution and meritocracy is good, but just not when it comes to being scary. And guess what? Just like Monsters University, this revelation is celebrated and everyone is happier for it.
But Ash, this is objectively correct, right? It's not meritocracy that's celebrated. They're just showing how each person has objective merit, and it's good to give jobs to them based on it. After all, you want people to do what they're good for, right?
Yes, however, that's not what meritocracy means. The issue with meritocracy, which is both shown and celebrated in Monsters University and in real life, honestly, is that it doesn't allow people's talent to present themselves, and more importantly, shoves people into categories based on a hard formula or disposition that makes no fucking sense. You cannot measure how good someone is at some stuff. Some stuff are just vague and depends on experience, and you just saying some random criteria of merit based on them doesn't really say anything. You didn't make this system easier to understand. You just, with some weird idea, pushed some people out and didn't allow their talents to flourish. For example, at the end of Monsters University, Mike, who is deemed not scary, basically pulls off the biggest scare the university has ever seen. But that's not celebrated, because he doesn't have the predetermined definition of what scary means. The actual real merit, which is shown here, is just pushed aside for a phantom one, creating a meritocracy which in its very core establishes very rigid social classes based on the idea of merit, not merit itself. You can't quantify or measure talent. You can only enable it. And meritocracy doesn't. Instead, it just views it in arbitrary lenses such as the Solomon family, or the degree one has, or the last name of you being enter rich family name. Speaking of meritocracy, CoCo. A very pretty story of a deadbeat dad being yoinked out of credit and exploited by rich people, which also shows one thing. Yeah, this movie, same as Monster University, is mostly about how meritocracy is a myth. It's usually not because how good people are or how good people will be. It's just all about vibes and how you look at the end of the day. The rich and powerful stole his ideas, and to everyone, that guy has merit and this guy is just a poor nobody, even though that wasn't the case at all. There was so much more at stake and so much more that was happening. CoCo is, again, ultimately anti-meritocracy. Onward. We got Ian and Barley, our boyos with daddy issues that get Chris Angeled and now with a magic staff want to bring their father back. But due to some shenanigans, only the bottom half of the father is brought back, which sucks, so they go on a buddy comedy adventure through a post-magic and boring society to fix this shit. Primitivism. Primitivism is a political philosophy that advocates for a return to pre-industrial and sometimes even pre-agricultural ways of life, stating that technology has absolutely ruined our brains and we should get the fuck back. In my last video, I explained primitivism in complete detail. If you're more interested, you can view that one, but in its very core, primitivism is actually rooted in a lot of ideologies, like even the Nazi one. But that's a bit extreme, alright? Normal primitivism is just, hey, I don't really like technology, I don't really like what the society is coming to, I kinda like us being in like a small village and I guess have a cow. I like cows. So, please. This movie is off the idea that technology has ruined us, has literally removed magic from the world. Yeah, it's primitivism. The fuck you want me to say? Up. The story of a white man rejecting society and going to a distant land to live without any modern technology? Post-structurist anarcho-primitivism. The difference between anarcho-primitivism and primitivism is honestly very blurry. Almost in most of recent human history, a lot of hierarchical structures were established. So while, I don't know, 500 years ago we didn't have a lot of technology, we still had kings and queens and royal families, and primitivism is not inherently against that. There might be some subcategories that are against that, but primitivism inherently just wants to go back. Anarcho-primitivism wants to take an anarchist perspective into it and doesn't really want social hierarchies in money or class. A society where we reject the idea of technology and hierarchy. However, in our case, we have a post-structurist anarcho-primitivism. The idea of post-structurism and post-leftism is so massive that I cannot possibly cover all of it in this video, but one of the main aspects of it, which actually relates to the idea of Up as a movie, is that post-structurism or post-leftism anarchism kind of believes that one person really has to focus on the themselves. Instead of really creating a commune of people and creating movements, just live as an anarchist. Just live as you want the society to be. You don't have to wait for a foundational political movement to change the society you live in to start living a certain way. You can just start doing it. This could be ideologies like egoism or ego-communism. Again, just to reiterate, I'm not boiling down post-structuralism to just individualism, alright? That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just mentioning them because it relates to our use case here being the movie Up. Our guy here, our dude, didn't wait for some pesky laws or political movements to start living as an anarcho-primitivist. He just got a bunch of balloon and kidnapped a child and pieced the fuck out. Schreiner would be proud. And if you want to go deeper, I guess we can name this ideology the ego-anarcho-primitivism. By me. So, the most beautiful soundtrack in a Pixar movie by far. Absolutely amazing. The movie follows our man here, an elementary school teacher, a pianist instructor, and a star wannabe. He goes through life with a lot of hopes and dreams. And fucking dies. Now he really wants to go back to Earth to play some jazz at this jazz club, but to do this, he has to make it so this annoying little brat gets their pass to Earth so he can steal it. Yeah, fuck children. Anarcho-jazzism and soulism? So like anarcho-jazzolism? Anarcho-jazzolism. He hates the laws of the universe and doesn't like the hierarchy it presents with the ghosts and the ever beyond and stuff, and really wants to fucking play jazz. He thinks a hierarchical force is preventing him from playing jazz, and that hierarchical force is the fucking universe. Anarcho-jazzolism. Also, the soulism video is in the works, alright? I wanted to originally make a 10-minute fast rant video about what exactly soulism is, but now I'm in a deep rabbit hole. I have already interviewed a few people, and the video is gonna be 3 hours long and will come out when I die. Because holy fucking shit, there is a civil war happening apparently, and I had no idea, and you didn't either, but be tuned, subscribe. The video is gonna be insane. Luca. Luca is a cute movie about, well, Luca, an Italian meeting Alberto, another Italian. Crazy. Also, they're both sea monsters, but I don't think that matters. And their cute, more than platonic friendship. These two need to be careful to not be hunted by humans for their true self, and in this coming-to-age movie, we explore the emotional depth this dynamic represents. You could go with the very obvious pro-LGBTQ messaging of this movie, and that's great, but I'm kinda getting very bummed out that the very existence of people is somehow politicized and they should die just because of them being there, so I'm really not gonna talk about that. Let's talk about immigration instead. A hot topic indeed, isn't it? We are right now experiencing yet another surge in insane amount of fascist ideologies in our culture. In most first world countries, a vast majority of people regard immigrants as subhuman. Not even second class, just not human. They call them aliens, parasites, invaders. This unfortunate reality is just like early 1900s anti-Semitism that was raging throughout Europe, as Jewish people, a group that immigrated to Europe, were deemed to be evil or deceitful by replacing the great national and Christian identity of the land. They were the ones who replaced the good old hard-working European men, and even if they were citizens, they were just ripping the country off and not really a part of the whole, as one might say. And this led to horrible, and I mean horrible outcomes. But don't worry, man, we learned our lesson.
That's right, we learned that dehumanizing people and scapegoating them for all complex issues just due to the inherent identity of them and mischaracterizing data that stems from marginalization of such groups will lead to horrible atrocities which must never be repeated. We understood that human dignity must never be trampled with, and imaginary lines and birth certificates shouldn't dictate the value of life.
Oh no, not that. We learned that Hitler bad, other good, kick Hitler butt. Kid Hitler went away and win. Yay! That's what we learned. Hitler was a stupid doo-doo pants and he went away and now everything is good. That was a great Marvel movie, guys. We don't have to learn anything else. We don't have to learn any underlying issues and any underlying socioeconomical reasons that this whole thing happened, and underlying hatreds and misogyny and xenophobia and the idea of anti-immigrants being the base of a lot of these issues. No. Hitler was a doo-doo pants. That's what matters. The reality is the sentiments of fuckface ogre bitches like Trump or Farag or this other fucking goblin is the exact same sentiments that 50, 60 years ago led to extreme anti-Semitism and fascism. They are basically doing what their forefathers did, so they must be fucking proud. By dehumanizing people, by calling them illegal aliens, or saying they're eating the cats and dogs, or how every single problem one might ever have is because of the most marginalized, targeted, poor, and vulnerable group of people, they create the exact same environment that Jewish people had to go through. You need to have your papers. If you have your papers, that means you get to live. Your existence is justified by a piece of paper, and if not, to the camps with you. Fuck! Now Trump is targeting legal and documented foreigners with families, friends, and hopes and dreams, sending them all to a fucking death camp without any due process because of a fucking tattoo. A goddamn tattoo. Yeah, completely on brand, you pieces of fucking shit. As Elon says, right? Empathy is the enemy. Garbage. How the fuck do people not see these people are legit the empire? Alright, this was about Pixar and Luca. I forgot. I think even farther than the LGBTQ rights theme that Luca has, in its very core, Luca is about accepting of others. Acceptance of people you might see so differently you deem as inhuman. How Luca, a sea monster, as the town folks call him, has to hide himself and for some weird grand cultural bullshit reasoning has to assimilate because without it, he is bad and not worthy of any dignity. I think the movie showcases this hostile reality pretty well, with how usually younger people and kids don't really view these people as inferior in direct contradiction to the townsfolk. It shows that one needs to be taught to be racist, and many are. However, the ending of Luca in a very Pixar fashion makes a great case for neoliberalism and Democrats' wet dream solution. As Luca's final acceptance as a member of the town and justification for his saving is, he won a race. Here it's a bike race, while in real world, that's capitalism. The very nature of his existence is allowed to be tolerated because of some fucking race. Not because of the inherent horrific ideologies of these people is wrong. No, if Luca had lost, he would have been lynched. And that's fine, right? He lost. He doesn't have any inherent human value because he is not human.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
Much like how many Democrats and liberals argue for immigration not as a place of empathy and core values, but because they work hard, man. They pay a lot of taxes. That's why we shouldn't send them to fucking El Salvador, not because they're human, they're useful. You suck at debate, man. They pay taxes, and that's why they're human. I'm a big brain man. Big brain man. It's honestly very pathetic and sad how in the system we have, the very notion of one's humanity is accepted because of what they can produce as slaves to the system. Nothing else. Yippee. And lastly, The Good Dinosaur. I don't know, man. I haven't watched this one. Nazism.